I am Jennifer Eckman. I am the airport director at Minot International Airport. Identifying the core services really helps us focus on what is critical for our budgetary expenditures, and also because we're an enterprise fund, what income is reliant on making sure that those core services are provided. The airport's core services is providing the infrastructure to handle the movement of passengers, cargo, and aircraft through our runways and taxiways and our terminal building. With the core services, we provide that service by maintaining our airfield structures, maintaining our terminal building and other facilities that we own and operate here at the airport. And then also we provide that core services by responding to emergencies that happen regarding flight operations and medical needs inside the terminal. We also, part of the core services, because we are an airport that accepts commercial flights, we also have to comply with certain FAA regulations that maybe a smaller GA airport does not, general aviation airport does not have to comply with. So some of our non-core functions that we currently do is we do a lot of our accounting here. So we send out our invoices. We accept some of our payments here at the airport and things like that. We also do a lot of community engagement, social awareness of what is happening at the airport, what services we provide. We also do parking enforcement and traffic control in front of our terminal building. It gets pretty congested during certain times of the day when we have multiple flights coming and going. And we also have a requirement per TSA to not allow parking too close to the terminal and things like that. We also engage in some engineering services. The engineering services are to maintain our runways and taxiways and our roadways and parking lots to be in compliance with the different regulatory agencies that cover airports. We are regularly communicating to our stakeholders about upcoming projects, about delays in flights and things like that as much as we possibly can. So we also do marketing, and then we do a lot of property maintenance. Our staff assists the actual emergency responders, the firefighters, the EMTs, and the law enforcement officers who arrive at the terminal. We help get them to the location where the emergency is occurring. We have a lovely facility that, there are certain events, there's certain things that happen on a regular basis. We host Make-A-Wish kids who are flying out. Whenever we know that there's a Wish kid flying out of the Minot International Airport, we try to roll out the red carpet, literally. This past spring, we were able to host the Western North Dakota Honor Guard flight, which takes veterans to Washington, D.C. We had an estimated 1,000 meeters and greeters welcoming back our veterans. We have currently 25 employees or positions available to be filled at the airport. Of those 25, they're kind of divided into three major areas. Well, actually four areas, but three major areas, which are airport administration, our airport operations and maintenance folks, and our facility and custodial team members. In addition to that, we do have seasonal part-time employees. I don't want to say that there's any efficiencies maybe, but we are at basically critical staffing levels in order to meet our federal regulations and requirements. We basically are kind of for lack of a better term, bare bones. Right now we are at the minimum amount of staffing needed in order to operate per the FAA regulations. We learned a lot. We learned areas where we can maybe focus and reduce some of the budget. One of the biggest challenges for us this year is, even though we're asked to do a flat budget. We had to do less than flat because we have a large capital project coming up next year. And so in order to and because we're an enterprise fund, in order to have the adequate amount of income to cover our expenses, we had to cut for the flat budget over $1 million worth of operational expenses. I counterbalance a huge capital project we're planning for next year.
Okay.
So our capital project that we are scheduled to do next year is approximately $13.5 million. That project is our runway, our crosswind runway 826 is in need of a rehab. And so we'll be doing that rehab next year. But in addition to that, there's been some new FAA design guidance for runways and taxiway geometry. And so we have to realign our taxiway Bravo. So we need to do a full reconstruct and realignment of taxiway Bravo at the same time that we have to do runway 826. So the combined effort of both of those projects kind of phased together is estimated to be at like $13.5 million. We have a little bit of money that does come from the property taxes, but not significant. And most of that funding just gets turned back to the city for our fees that are charged by the city for accounting and legal and other. Most of that money just gets turned back. So it doesn't have a significant impact at this time. All of these items that we're cutting, the $1 million, will have to be put back into a future budget because there's a certain timeline when things will break and things will not work properly that we will be we have to maintain the airfield, and we have, per our regulations, and we have to provide a certain level of customer service to our users of the airport. Well, because we had cut so much in our flat budget for next year, our -3 is very critical. We are very concerned that we'll have, like, for example, a jet bridge breakdown, and we'll have to do some emergency funding through the city every time we have anything break in the terminal or on the airfield. And we don't have like the crystal ball, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen next year, but we'll do our best to maintain. But if we do a -3, there'll be some significant impacts on levels of customer service and the equipment. It will just end up costing more. If we can maintain a jet bridge versus having to repair a jet bridge is a significant price difference. The +3 scenario, we couldn't do a full +3 because we don't have the income necessarily that can cover a +3 scenario. So since we are an enterprise fund, we are reliant on essentially what are called user fees. So passengers buying concessions or parking in our parking lots, or fuel flowage fees that go through our aviation fuels that are sold here at the airport, and other user fees. Lease agreements is a significant one also. All of those fees are what makes up our income, and if we were to go to the 3%, we would potentially lose some of our tenants and our vendors because the cost of operating a business here would be too expensive. So some of the marginal gains that we have been working on include improving our budgeting process. I mean, this was a good exercise to help us improve our budgeting process. And the fact that we now have 3 years out will help us next year to kind of, okay, which scenario are we truly looking more closely at for 2027? Because we already have a couple of different scenarios, and we'll have to adjust it, of course, because things will happen in 2026 that aren't anticipated at the moment. But this will give us kind of a good guideline for future budgets coming up. So we also did, we created some revenue, year-to-date revenue tracking and trends so that we can keep a closer eye on those things. One of the biggest unknown factors right now is we have lost a significant amount of Canadian travelers, and unfortunately that impacts airlines' decisions to fly here, to choose certain routes that airlines are flying and certain types of aircraft that are being flown into this city. So we're hoping to get our Canadian travelers to come back down. The other thing is some centralized tracking for our AP and our accounts payable and accounts receivable. We now have a spreadsheet that we're tracking it a little bit closer so that we don't end up with, an airline that hasn't paid in a certain amount of months. Our revenues we're an enterprise fund, so our revenues are not reliant on property taxes, but are reliant on the traveling public and our cargo ops and our aircraft coming and going at this airport. One of the other outliers was I can't predict the future. I can't predict the traveling needs. Our industry has gone through a lot of waves that we're earning the revenue we need in order to work with the operational costs that come up on a daily basis.
Perfect. Anything I'm missing? Anything you'd like to add?